Next on Binge with Baldrick.
Come along behind the scenes on my unique 2-item bucket list trip to Alaska.
This is Binge with Baldrick, the interesting show for curious minds and hungry hearts. Here now, a guy who's lived his entire life with artificial intelligence, Thomas Baldrick.
Greetings, friends. Much love and gratitude for being here. I am Thomas Baldrick. I woke up today. I am Julian Baldrick's dad. So much to share, so much to show. So let's go. Let me do the right thing here and either pull you into this episode of Binge with Baldrick or push you away. This is not going to be your typical travel log recap. Yes, I expect you may learn some. However, only some of it will be about Alaska. The other parts might be learning about yourself and life by coming along on my personal journey. Understand, this Alaska adventure of mine was unique. Therefore, my recap of it must also be. Okay? If this isn't for you, our other Alaska content might be. I've got a cruise ship full of video shorts you might enjoy. And should you love the joy of Christmas, you will love the magical Santa Claus house and the North Pole community. I love them so much myself, I wound up producing separate episodes on each. Now, coming soon is an episode with a great team of Aurora chasers. Another episode offers a rare behind-the-scenes visit inside the longest tunnel in North America, which connects the unique town of Whittier, Alaska. And there is an episode with a totally credible professional who had a UFO experience in Alaska, and he has quite compelling visual support of what he witnessed. I had one night myself being all alone in the middle of friggin' nowhere, Alaska, and seeing things in the sky I could not explain. It was kooky. I still think about it. So, if you are not yet a subscriber to the Binge with Baldrick podcast, please do so on YouTube and or where you get podcasts. Or you can follow me in social media, but that's the lowest form of interaction. Paul Brown, who runs the Santa Claus house in North Pole, talked with me about Alaska now becoming more of a twice-in-a-lifetime place, not a once-in-a-lifetime destination. This is cool because he said the summers and winters are indeed worlds apart, and tourists are becoming interested in experiencing both. For what it's worth, the Alaskans I met, they prefer the endless summer daylight over the dark and cold winters. Before I delve into my story, I am just bursting to tell you how much I love Alaska. It is big and it is beautiful. And it is all there is of both. Oh, my. And another big reason I love Alaska is because of the people there. They are the nicest, most genuine people you will find. A different breed, a rare breed, tough but kind. People don't leave Alaska, and if you go there, you will know why. Actually, I met some who did leave, or they tried, but they didn't or couldn't leave for long. They were called home. Add me to the list. I didn't want to leave. And did you notice I said how much I love Alaska, not loved, as in past tense? So, one question has come at me repeatedly in various ways. What led me to visit Alaska in the dead of winter? I was asked this before the trip and throughout my time in Alaska and after. Sometimes I could tell it was asked as code for, dude, what's wrong with you? Or, tell me, mister, what makes you tick? One question, so many answers. I'll start with saying I love being a dreamer. It's in my DNA. Plus, I am one of the great holders of hope anywhere. I can hold on to dreams for years like my life depends on them. And I realized in Alaska, maybe it does. Alaska was a bucket list trip for me, and for two very different reasons. One, since I was a little boy learning the states and their capitals, I dreamed of getting to all 50 states. Alaska was my 50th, and in hindsight, despite all the winding roads which led me there or stopped me from getting there, when I did, as I did, couldn't have been any sweeter. Number two, also since childhood, I dreamed of seeing the Northern Lights. This was so different back then when I was a kid. The Aurora Borealis wasn't nearly as popular then as it is now. It was simply known as the Northern Lights. But my fascination and my craving for the experience of standing under the aurora never faded. Really, the only way to make this bucket list trip a 2-for-1 special was to go to Alaska during the aurora season. This meant Alaska's cold, dark half of the year. Bring it on, I said, a mix of not fully knowing and not worrying about what I was getting into. I was sure this Alaska trip was a matter of destiny for me. Yet initially, I still had to fight through my fear. My wonderful godmother, who just turned 88, she can worry about anything. But she flat out told me I had to go. She reminded me it was like living fully as I think or practicing as I preach. The urgency factor here for me was there were only a few hours left of a use it or lose it airline credit. Sure, I could book practical flights, like going back to Philly to see her, or flying to Vegas to see my son, or I could pursue a moonshot, Alaska. Lo and behold, I did, and found 3 one-way flights, which spent all but the $4 of my total airline credit. How's that for another sign of destiny? So for the next 6 weeks after booking this trip, I walked a tightrope between travel planning and allowing the universe to do its thing. I had tons of calmness and curiosity, but no more fear, including no need for control, none. Geeking out about the aurora, I timed my visit for a new moon. This is when skies are darkest. That was kind of smart. But this next thing, not so much. For weeks, I geeked out checking the aurora forecast multiple times a day. The only problem was, I only began following the weather forecast a few days before my trip. Needless to say, I was shocked to see the temperatures had dropped dramatically. Again, I laughed at myself. No wonder I was going to Alaska in winter, alone. No one in their right mind would go along with something like this. Imagine being the parent of a 19-year-old, and even he's been one of those saying, "Dad, you are crazy." I joked to myself that Alaska would be way too frozen to go with the flow, so therefore I would go where the ice and snow and my intention and intuition took me. Maybe I'm just okay with being crazy. You see, I went to China without a guide or interpreter, despite the fact that I knew no Mandarin, nothing. Couldn't see it, couldn't read it, couldn't speak it. I simply set an intention that if I needed help, the right person would appear. Imagine this. I'm standing in a train station, not knowing what to do, not seeing where I should go, not having a clue. Being literally surrounded by a small mob of Chinese people thinking, if they talked louder, if they yelled, I would understand what they were telling me to do. It didn't work. Don't you know, I feel a hand on my shoulder and I hear the words, "Where are you looking to go, sweetheart?" I turn around and I see someone's grandmother, a lovely woman wearing a red Wisconsin sweatshirt. With this trip, I made a promise to not let anything stop me or bother me. My intentions were I would get there and travel safely. I would see the aurora, and I would also see a moose. I wanted to see a bear, but knew they are hibernating, so I took a teddy bear with me. My idea was I would take pictures of the bear along the way. But that changed before my flight out of Phoenix. A wonderful woman from American Airlines was so kind and so fun, I asked her to pose with my bear for a photo. That began my better idea to remember the people I connected with by having photos of them with Al the bear. I named him Al because it was short for Alaska. I know, not all that creative. I will be posting a fun video montage of Al with all of the fun people I met, so be sure to subscribe to the Binge with Baldrick YouTube channel. Getting there, my flight from Seattle to Fairbanks was delayed. Again, so what? No stress. At the gate, I enjoyed being near a family with 2 young kids. The next day, much to all of our surprise, I was the one in the very same place at the very same time they were to take a special family photo of them with Santa Claus at the Santa Claus house in North Pole. What are the odds of that? Yep. Welcome to my life. Welcome to my Alaska. Sitting behind me on the flight was this really cool woman. Her name was Rachel. Again, no coincidence. She was one of those who noticed Al the bear, whereas I noticed her hair. I dared to ask, is that Aurora hair? For a split second, it reminded me of the times I innocently have congratulated women for being pregnant when in fact they were not. But this time I avoided disgrace and I guessed right. Rachel did in fact dye her hair, mostly green, in her latest attempt to witness the aurora. She had even gone to the other side of the world to see it, but never did. I assured her this time she would. It would be different. 2 days later, Rachel sent me a photo of the aurora. I was thrilled for her, elated. I wasn't envious or jealous. We weren't in any competition. We simply shared the same dream. I got welled up and was genuinely and unconditionally happy for her. This, even though I still hadn't seen the aurora and had no guarantee I would. After sitting with my reaction about Rachel, I was more than super happy for her. I felt good about myself. You see, it's this type of thing that has recently been a big piece of my practicing gratitude and abundance. There is enough of everything for everyone. So thank you, Rachel and the Aurora, for help with this valuable lesson. Anyway, as for my Aurora hunt, I would not allow doubt, fear, or the many warnings that it wasn't easy to see. I would not let them get in my way. I would simply do my best and allow. I did fly 1 day earlier to get a chance to go out under the stars and shoot video with the Aurora guy before he left Alaska for a scientific conference. While it was sunny and 76 degrees when I left Phoenix that afternoon, the snow was falling in Fairbanks at midnight when I walked on Alaska's frontier for the first time. And it was 9 below zero. No first night Aurora guy expedition, no first night Aurora. There was already 10 inches of snow on the ground when I ventured out of my hotel room in the morning. It was dark, and I went out to unplug my car. They plug them in every night in the bitter cold, and it works. Funny, because I couldn't remember the last time I even drove in the snow, let alone a foot of it. So much for the anticipated 4 hours of daylight. I also learned the hard way about the common whiteout Alaskans know. If someone passes you on the road in the snow, you have a few seconds of a complete and utter whiteout. You cannot see anything. I mean anything. This was shocking to me, but I guessed right by not slamming the brakes. Instead, I just took my foot off the gas and tried my best to hold the wheel straight. I'm doing 50 miles an hour at night on a highway with snow and ice, and the past 3 vehicles have all zoomed by me. If you go to Alaska in the winter, you should also know the residents drive at speeds on ice, which will astonish you. One Alaskan woman put it to me this way. Yeah, a lot of people driving here always think they have it until they don't. I cannot tell you how many times I was passed when I felt like I was going as fast as I could safely. Literally, more times than I can count. Overall, in my visit, I drove about 2,000 miles of Alaska, much of it in the dark. Still, every 5 minutes, I saw more than enough beauty in the little daylight there was to make the trip worthwhile. Now, I know that what I'm about to admit freaks out some people. I've seen the reactions. But everywhere I went in Alaska, including all of those hours and all of those miles driven, I did so without radio, music, podcasts, etc. I was fully present in silence, alone in the great last frontier with just my thoughts and feelings, memories, and insights. I spent a ton of time in happiness and gratitude. Thank you, Alaska. One day, I drove 175 miles on the ice. Sounds like a lot, right? What if I told you there was 175 miles out of the way, not 175 miles total? 175 miles that day, I didn't need to drive. La 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 la. There I was, driving along and admiring the scenery. I was blissfully unaware of the dead zones and service areas. On my way to Whittier, the GPS eventually helped me discover that I drove 50 miles past my turn. Later, on the way to Homer, I drove 37 miles past my turn. I want you to know I'm living proof it is possible to make those backtrack drives without feeling an ounce of anger or frustration. I simply enjoy the rides and the views from a different perspective. Choices. That's what it's all about, choices. What's in the middle of the word choices? The letter I. I always have a choice how I react. Use this in your life. I hope it's a nugget for you. Here's another thing I savored about Alaska drivers. When it is single digits outside or 40 below, everyone leaves their vehicle running if they go inside somewhere, albeit a store, a supermarket, whatever. There is total trust that no one will take off in your warm and waiting ride. Oh my, would it be some seriously bad karma if you did. Anyway, this modern day old school small town trust made me smile every single time I saw it. I also learned some Alaska lingo. Everyone refers to the lower 48 states as being different from them. Every Alaskan I met uses the term the lower 48. They see themselves as Alaskans first, and this includes the natives, the indigenous people. They respect the tribes. And to me, all this is okay. Like Hawaii, Alaskans are somewhat removed. And get this, unlike Arizona, where I reside in America, I didn't see the name Trump once, nor did I hear the name Trump spoken one time in 10 days. Not once. There is more to life to people in Alaska. I learned Alaskans from other parts of the state call Anchorage Las Anchorage, as though the growing city is becoming like Las Vegas. I've been to both. Trust me, there's still some room to grow. The biggest challenge for me in Alaska was my cold hands. I brought 4 cameras with me, but couldn't shoot video or photos with any of them wearing gloves. Period. This meant exposure. I messed up so many shots because I wasn't recording when I thought I was, or I couldn't. I shot a ton of things when I didn't know I was rolling, but it's okay. One time at the Santa Claus house, I was so urgently focused on escaping the cold, I ran to my vehicle, which I left running. Eventually, when I warmed up, I drove to another area of the property with my GoPro falling off the hood. A nice guy walked 100 yards to bring it to me. I had no clue I lost it. That's true Alaska for you. After that day, it took me until the next morning for my frozen fingers to feel normal again. I tried to be more careful. Homer, Alaska is one of the most beautiful places on earth I have ever seen. The Homer Spit is a truly amazing strip of land. The east side of it was an icy beach, literally an icy beach with chunks of ice washing up on the shore. I froze out there as I simply couldn't get enough of it. It was a far cry from Puerto Penasco in Mexico, where I go. Now, the west side of the Homer Spit was the ocean with waves so cold you could feel them as they moved. At the end of the spit, if you went out to the end, it's where the ice and the sea met. Wow. Whittier, Alaska is also amazing and similar. The difference here is that the winds are unique and can be oh so powerful. The passage and coming off the sea creates a swirling or circling effect with winds you wouldn't believe. The highest recorded, I think, is 212 or 213 miles an hour. The afternoon I was in Whittier, the temperature was 4 degrees, but the winds, I'm told, were north and south of 100 miles an hour. That gave me an all-new understanding, appreciation, and experience of wind chill. Still, I was out there shooting video and making memories. Ironically, there was no one else out there to watch me. In reality, the magic of Alaska is and was a constant. I didn't even scratch the surface of scratching the surface. The Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights, I still cannot describe it enough, and I'm trying in my own head. The first time seeing it was late on my third night. I was all alone outside North Pole. However, I didn't realize that the green band of light I saw was actually the aurora, because it was only a glimpse, like a beginning, a preview, if you will. Nonetheless, I turned off the engine of my Rockstar rented Toyota RAV4. I was out, total darkness, total quiet, very peaceful. When I got back in to my rental vehicle, surprise, it was dead. Wouldn't start, no lights would turn on, nothing. I laughed. I wondered what was next. This was an adventure, remember? I texted my new friends Karen and Buddy Lane in North Pole. They were actually on the way home from a Christmas party, but were going to drive 25 minutes to the spot they recommended to me. Typical, kind, can't do enough to help each other Alaskans. Buddy was the former fire chief of North Pole, so he was up on safety. He had just learned about someone's key fob not functioning in the extreme cold. So he thought of it and told me to put the fob right at the start button. Sure enough, it worked. They didn't have to come out. And I didn't have to leave. If you crave seeing the aurora, I highly recommend Alaska and hiring the Aurora Guy. This team is made up of fanatics, exactly what I hoped for. Vincent is a science-driven young man, but also a people pleaser. He cares. He loves the aurora, wants to see it, and wants you to see it and love it as he does. His partner, Maya is extraordinary, unique in her own right. I would describe Maya as an aurora whisperer. My fourth night in Alaska, I went out chasing with only Maya. Much to my surprise, I was expecting a group. I learned so much from her. Maya not only knew where to be, but she recognized what was going on in the sky. She also knew when it would likely occur. It was amazing. She also knew when to stay in the toasty warm vehicle and when to get out. She tried telling me, but I just I couldn't resist. 36 below, so what? Seeing the aurora, priceless. Let me digress for a moment. Days later, when I was in Anchorage, it seems I was perceived by a nice homeless advocate to be a member of the very population he was serving. It was positive for me because, number one, I like to laugh at myself, but I also felt good about it afterward because I never once judged all those other people around me who he seemed to know. It was another lesson in gratitude because I cannot comprehend people being homeless in such dire cold brutal, life-threatening conditions. Which leads me back to how wacky I am. More than half of my 10 nights in Alaska, I was basically homeless. I was living out of my Toyota because I wanted as many chances as I could get to see the aurora again. I wanted it again. I wanted every minute I could squeeze out. If I was literally out all night chasing, hoping, and patiently waiting for the aurora to appear, what was the point of a hotel room? I could shower and change clothes at the gym, gave me another reason to work out while I was gone. I even took in the Planet Fitness Northern Lights location. How cool is that? Magic with animals. Getting near the end, folks. On the night I was aurora chasing with Maya, she was taking us to what she thought would be a better location considering the changing conditions. Along the way, we reached a point where I told her I had a feeling we were going to see a moose. Don't you know, we came upon a mama moose and her 2 babies enjoying a meal at a roadside cafe. They were babies, but I dare not call them little ones. We sat there and watched. A couple cars gathered round. It was just super cool, not only to see moose, but to know that I set an intention to do so and it manifested, and that I even had the intuition to know I was really close to it. The other animal experience I had was with Santa's reindeer. I was given the opportunity to hang out privately with them and their handler. These are big, lovable, playful babies. 350-pounders or so, lovable creatures who seem to think they are puppies. Just like big dogs, they think they're little puppies. Prancer, in particular, this reindeer took a liking to me. But overall, it was so much fun. I couldn't get over how fun it was. One more thing. 'Twas the night before when I learned that I could visit the reindeer and their handler the very next day. I go to the Santa Claus house and I meet this wonderful woman whose name is Rebecca. Here's the fascinating, mind-blowing part. The date was December 12th. December 12th was also the birthday of Rebecca Veck, a uniquely special young girl who I loved with all of my heart. Rebecca passed away in 2019 from the rare but brutal Batten disease. She was just 27, lived longer with this condition than anyone known. Rebecca is featured in the Netflix documentary about her dad, the Saint of Second Chances. Again, what are the odds of this happening in tiny North Pole, Alaska, with me being there on that given date? This latest Rebecca encounter I took as yet another sacred hello from her that she is just fine on the other side. I wished her a happy birthday. Anyway, after this long, winding road through Alaska, I thank you for spending your time with me. I do hope you enjoy the rest of the Binge with Baldrick content on Alaska, so be sure to subscribe. Until next time, Godspeed, my friends. I leave you with me standing outside the Fairbanks, Alaska airport in the middle of the night at minus 32 degrees. If a simpleton wearing a Philadelphia Eagles t-shirt and baseball cap, holding a sign saying, "Go Birds," if that isn't crazy, don't worry. I'll be sure to give you more proof. Just stick around. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Be happy, my friends. If only I could live life the way I lived this Alaska trip. Perhaps you were thinking that too.